Ars is a fictional character, a deity appearing in American comic books published by Marvel Comics. The character is based on the Greek god of the same name. He first appeared in Thor, Volume 1, number 129, June 1966, and was created by Stan Lee and Jack Kirby. Ars has commonly appeared as an enemy of Thor and Hercules and starred in his own self-titled series in 2006. In 2012, Ars was ranked 39th in IGN's list of the top 50 Avengers. Ars, the Greek god of war, was initially depicted as a villain in the Marvel Universe, opposing Thor, Hercules and the Avengers. Early on, his influence on Earth was less direct, as he created an organization known as the Warhawks, and used them to create war on Earth. In 2006, the character was recast to not be a villain but instead more of an anti-hero who simply lived for battle. Any battle. He was added to the Avengers roster as one of their heavy hitters, and showed himself to have his own warrior's honor codex and not the one-dimensional villain he had been portrayed as in the past. He would later join Norman Osborn's Dark Avengers, believing that he could put his powers to good use. During the Siege storyline, Ars is killed by Sentry as he is literally torn apart. Publication history. Ars first appeared in Thor number 129, 1966. Written by Stan Lee and drawn by Jack Kirby. He would often appear as a villain in both Thor and the Avengers over the next 30 years. A 5-issue limited series. Ars, written by Michael A. von Oeming and drawn by Trevor Foreman, was published in 2006 and focuses on this character. Since the release of the Ars miniseries, he has been portrayed as an anti-hero. Following the superhero civil war, Ars was invited to join the official S.H.I.E.L.D. sponsored Mighty Avengers, led by Tony Stark, and appeared in the title. He was one of only 2 members to remain on the team after Norman Osborn took Stark's position. As part of the Dark Reign storyline, and appeared in the first Dark Avengers series throughout its run. Ars subsequently starred in a 3-issue Dark Avengers Ars miniseries written by Kieran Gillen. He appeared as a regular character in the Dark Avengers series from issue number 1, March 2009, until the time of his death in the Siege Limited series. During the Chaos War storyline, Ars appeared in a one-shot comic titled Chaos War. Ars, fictional character biography. Ars is the son of Zeus and is the Olympian god of war. Ars reveled in war and combat in all its forms, not caring about sides or victims, supporting Troy in the Trojan War. Ars has hated Hercules ever since Hercules killed Ares' pets, the monstrous Stymphalian birds, and his hatred increased when he noticed Hercules being favored by their father, while he was shunned for his brutal behavior. Further adding to his hatred is that in modern times, war is shunned and disliked, whereas Hercules is still beloved by the masses, despite his own history of death and destruction. As the Romans took on worship of Greek gods and renamed them, Ars is also the deity Mars, after Zeus allowed the worship of the Greek, Roman gods to cease. The dissatisfied Ars held a deep grudge and would try to overthrow Olympus more than once. He refused to battle against Pluto on behalf of Hercules, and aided Pluto instead. Hercules teamed up with the Asgardian god Thor in order to defeat Ars, leading to Ares' retreat. Ars fought a duel with Hercules, forming an alliance with the Enchantress to make Hercules her slave and ally against the Avengers, using water from the spring of Eros, which led to Hercules being exiled from Olympus for a year. Ars organized the Warhawks, which included satyrs whose pipes caused violence in humans, and with them battled the Avengers. He dispatched Kratos and Bea to capture Hercules. After allying with the Enchantress again, he used the Black Knight's ebony blade to quench the Promethean flame and conquer Olympus, by turning all the other Olympians to crystal. Although demigod Hercules was not transformed, but exiled to Earth with amnesia, due to being brutally beaten by Ares' henchmen the Yellow-Crested Titans and drifting between Olympus and Earth for 6 days and nights, Ars sent the two demigods, Kratos and Bia, after Hercules, and despite the Avengers' efforts, Hercules was captured and taken back to Olympus. Ars again battled the Avengers, who had come to rescue the captive Hercules, and was defeated by Thor and the Black Knight. Ars also battled Namor the Submariner and Venus. He formed another alliance with Pluto, and kidnapped Krista in an attempt to foment war between Olympus and Asgard. He also plotted with Pluto and Ares' daughter Hippolyta to marry Hercules and Venus to Hippolyta and himself. It was revealed that in ancient times, he took part in the Trojan War. Alongside Zeus, Ars struck an alliance with Odin against the Eternals, and battled the Eternal Icaris. He frequently battled teams and individuals while working as a villain, and continued to battle heroes like the Avengers. Ares' uncle Pluto sought to overwhelm Mount Olympus with an army of the dead, leading to a stalemate that the gods and demigods, including Hercules and Achilles, were unable to break. In desperation to end the siege of Olympus, Zeus called upon his son Ars, who defeated Hades' army almost single-handedly, hoping that this would allow him to join his kind in Olympus. Ars was disappointed to hear his parents and the other gods disparage his crude and dishonorable nature. He abandoned his brethren to live amongst mortal men, but did not completely give up his god nature yet. Ars tired of his own warmongering when he realized that was why the other gods despised him and decided to live a normal life. He gave up his position as god of war, but maintained his skills, weaponry, and immortality. On Earth, he set himself up as a builder, carpenter. He would later father a son with an unidentified mother. After the events of the Civil War storyline, Marvel and Iron Man recruit Ars as part of the new Mighty Avengers. He plays a major part in defeating Ultron. During the Secret Invasion, Ares' son Alexander was recruited for Nick Fury's Secret Warriors by Daisy Johnson to oppose the Skrull invasion of New York City. During the Dark Reign storyline, Ars has joined the Dark Avengers, Norman Osborn's personal team of Avengers. Writer of the Dark Avengers series, Brian Michael Bendis, described Ares' role. Ars is going to be a big part of this book. He's really going to step up and use his war god brain. During the Dark Avengers' first mission, Venom Spidey is turned into a monster by Morgan Le Fay. Venom, under her control, attempts to eat Ars. He is spit back out but is turned to stone shortly thereafter by Morgana. He returns to normal when Morgana is defeated by Dr. Doom in her own time. Ars later receives a truancy notice in the mail regarding his son. Deciding to investigate as best he can, he sends Alex to school, only to see him board Daisy Johnson's scooter on the way to a new base for the Secret Warriors. Ars tails them on his motorcycle and rampages his way in through the wall. When Hellfire tries to attack, Ars easily dispatches him and in their own silent way. Nick Fury and Ars ask for a private audience with one another. Ars then uncharacteristically declares himself a horrid father, but only aims to raise Alex differently than he and his father were raised. He then peacefully leaves the place behind, allowing Alex the opportunity to not have to hide his allegiance anymore. When the Dark Avengers and H.A.M.M.E.R. go to San Francisco to quell the riots, Ars was stomping out a group of pro-mutant activists. Gambit challenged him but was easily dispatched. Rogue tried absorbing his powers, which proved too much for her, but nonetheless she manages to weaken him. Danger. Fearing that Rogue might injure herself through an energized manhole at Oz, pushing him away from Rogue. She gained half of Ares' power as a result. The trio then hijack A-M-M-E-R tank and leave a bleeding Oz behind. Oz, having recovered from his injuries, is seen next during the Dark Avengers assault on the X-Men's new base Utopia, which was made from the remains of the first asteroid M. There he fights with several X-Men until he is confronted with the once more empowered Valkyrie, Danielle Moonstar. The two fight and are evenly matched, with Danny quickly gaining the upper hand due to having borrowed some power from Hela, the Asgardian death goddess. Eventually both he and his team of Avengers are forced to retreat. Before the siege begins, Osborn is seen trying to convince Oz to come up with a plan to invade Asgard, saying Loki has taken control of it. Even though Osborn promises Oz that nothing is wrong, Oz tells Osborn that if he is lying, he will cut his head off, armor and all. Once the siege of Asgard begins, as the battle intensifies, Oz finds himself battling Balder and learns from Heimdall about Osborn's deceptions. When Osborn dispatches Dakin to find Maria Hill, he is struck down by Oz, who vows to kill Osborn for his lies. However, Oz is suddenly attacked by the Sentry and a brutal battle ensues, in which Oz is wounded while barely doing any damage to Sentry. The battle then comes to a violent conclusion when the Sentry rips Oz in half before the horrified eyes of the combatants on both sides. Alexander, after finding out about his father's death, recalls a time when he asked Oz if they would always be together. Oz responded that, as they are gods, they can be killed, but they will never truly die, and tells him that he has experienced this many times, having been to Hades and through the underworld to awaken in the fair fields of Elysium. Quote, Oz tells Alexander that he would one day die, but promises him that he will always find him again. During the Chaos War storyline, Oz is among the dead beings released by Pluto in order to defend the underworld from the forces of Amatsu Mikaboshi, but is ultimately defeated and enslaved bodily by the Chaos King along with his fallen parents, Zeus and Hera. Despite the combined attacks of the newly assembled God Squad, Oz is unscathed and engages Hercules in direct combat as Zeus and Hera battle Galactus and the other members of the God Squad. Oz ultimately returned to the underworld with the rest of the dead. As part of the all-new, all-different Marvel, Oz and Alexander, who had been killed by Gorgon, are later seen residing in the Elysian Fields. However, Oz is kidnapped and forcibly resurrected by agents of Maestro in order to serve as one of the Collector's fighters in the new Contest of Champions. Though Oz agrees to go along with the tournament, Stick claims that he is simply biding his time until he can find a way to kill Collector and Maestro. After the Maestro is defeated, Oz chooses to travel the world with his new friends, stating that he wishes to have a whole host of new adventures to tell Phobos about when he returns to the Elysian Fields one day. Powers and abilities. Oz belongs to a race of interdimensional deities known only as the Olympians. He possesses the base superhuman physical attributes of an Olympian, including superhuman strength, speed, agility, durability, reflexes, and virtual immortality. Though some of his powers are substantially greater than most other Olympians, like all Olympians, Oz is superhumanly strong, though far more so than the majority of his race. Among the Olympians, his physical strength is equaled only by his uncles, Neptune and Pluto, and is exceeded only by his father, Zeus, and his half-brother, Hercules. Ares' body and metabolism generates almost no fatigue toxins during physical activity, granting him virtually inexhaustible superhuman stamina in all physical activities. Ares' body is also highly resistant to physical injury. He can withstand great impact forces, energy discharges, temperature extremes, and falls from great heights without being injured. However, also like all other Olympians, he can sustain injury. Once, after an extensive self-imposed exile on the earthly plane, Ars was physically vulnerable enough to be injured and downed by mere bullets. At the same time, Ars has been shown withstanding being shot at point-blank range from machine guns used by War Machine. Ars is functionally immortal in the sense that he is immune to the effects of aging and hasn't aged since reaching adulthood. He is also immune to any known terrestrial disease or infection. While not as accomplished at magic as many of his fellow Olympians, and lacking the ability to fly, or to project energy, as an Olympian god, Ars has the potential to use magic. Ars can sense the presence of other gods, demons, and the use of magic, call other gods, and transport himself to Olympus and to Earth at will on certain occasions, such as abandoning his station as the god of war to lead a mortal life, or when retreating to Olympus after Hercules wounded him in a fierce battle with Kynos. However, neither his rudimentary magic nor his Olympian natural abilities were capable of overwhelming the Merlin-tutored Morgan Le Fay, preventing the mistress of the mystic arts from easily transmuting him into stone. He is, as fits his station as the Olympian god of war, a formidable hand-to-hand combatant, possessing fighting skills superior to that of even his father Zeus and his sister Athena. Nate Gray described him as war personified, on every plane, in every future, and admits that even he can find nothing to counter one as Ars. When Nate hid himself and mimic amongst time, Ars was able to tear through the fabric of time itself to reach and overpower him, claiming that such could not limit him. The temporal conflict sending ripples across the stars and disrupting the time stream itself. In another instance, apparently without aid, Ars was able to somehow bring himself in Alexander to another dimension, where many gods of Earth, including the Council of Skyfathers, had convened to judge his son's worthiness as the god of fear. Ars was also able to somehow create the man-eating Stymphalian birds, as a perfect expression of his own essence, ages ago, and was also able to send his son Monstro from 1805 through time into the mid-20th century as punishment for his renouncing war and change him into a 60-foot-tall giant. He is also an expert with numerous weapons, including ancient weapons and conventional, modern-day firearms. In his earlier appearances, he typically carried Olympian weapons like battle axes, spears, swords, daggers, and a javelin, which has been said to at least once be his favorite weapon. But his most recent appearance shows him favoring a mixture of ancient, like the jawbone of an ass, and modern weapons, like gases, rays, firearms, and high explosives, as well as Hydra blood bullets, which contain the lethal blood of a Lernaean Hydra. He is an aficionado, expert, and collector of the most unusual instruments and methods of death-dealing, as well as being well-versed in torture, interrogation, and combat tactics. Other versions. In the Age of Ultron storyline, the reality that formed from Wolverine and Invisible Woman killing Henry Pym to prevent Ultron from being created shows that Ars has become the new Doctor Doom after the original died and is engaged to Morgan Le Fay, where they have conquered half the planet. Hippolyta defeats Ars and takes back command of the Amazons, who were subdued by Ars. Collected editions. His series have been collected into trade paperbacks. Ars, God of War, collects Ars number 1 to 5. 120 pages. Hardcover. November 2006. ISBN 0-7851-2333-4. Softcover. November 2006. ISBN 0-7851-1991-4. Dark Avengers. Rs. Collects Rs number 1 to 5 and Dark Avengers. Rs number 1 to 3. 192 pages. Marvel Comics. Softcover. April 2010. ISBN 0-7851-44064. In other media, Rs appears in the Marvel Superheroes episode, The Verdict of Zeus. Rs is an unlockable character in the Facebook game Marvel Avengers Alliance. Rs is a playable character in the mobile game Marvel Puzzle Quest. Rs at Marvel.com. Rs at the Comic Book DB.